So for the next session, we will have another panel discussion and we go quite fast. The next one will be building the next generation of AI entrepreneur. I would like to invite Mr. Billy Vanderloo, Managing Partner and Chief Hunter of Startup Breed, and also Kun Pan Charuthasanakun, Principal Southeast Asia Seed Star, and also the moderator, Tien Wei Jing, AI Innovation Program Manager of CMKL University. Please give them welcome. ขอบคุณครับ
Hello, everybody. I know it's 12 o'clock already, and this is the last session before we have lunch. So I'm sure we'll have a fast-paced, quick panel discussion on building the next generation of entrepreneur. Please welcome me. Please join me again for welcoming Billy from Startup Breed, and Tu from Seed Start. All right, thank you, guys. All right. So first of all, I'll hand the mics to you, and maybe you can give us a little bit of introduction about you, about what you do. Maybe limit that to 1 to 2 minutes, please.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Billy, originally from the Netherlands, but I've been living in Thailand for the past 10 years. I first moved here doing an internship where I worked at Plaza Athénée in the banquet department because I was doing lots of festival bar management back in the Netherlands. And there I got exposed to this whole startup industry, and I came back for my graduation internship and I wrote my thesis for a company called Everex. This became the second biggest cryptocurrency company in Thailand. And while writing my thesis, I started my first two companies. One was a crypto wealth management service specializing in arbitrage, part of the Thai FinTech Association as well. And secondly, I started a social enterprise called Twisted Dream, which got backed by the US Embassy, Stock Exchange of Thailand, and lots of the big, great corporates. Now, fast forward, after 1.5 years, I sold everything, thought I wanted to go back to Netherlands, quickly realized that was a mistake when I landed in the winter. It was a bit cold. So I decided to travel around the world. I did some consulting, I did some modeling, I did some acting, but then I missed the business world. Came back to Thailand and I started a new business called Recipe, together with my partner Charlie. This business I sold earlier this year, and 3 years ago I opened up Startup Breed Recruitment, which is now the leading headhunting agency for startups in Thailand. And as of last year, I'm also serving Bangkok Startup Association as the president, and that's a bit of my background. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Billy.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Tu here. Have been in the kind of startup VC space for almost 8 years. So I started off helping an accelerator out of Singapore expand here to Thailand, and then set up the program for a couple of batches working with entrepreneurs, and then I moved on to join a fund called 500 Global, specifically working for the Thai fund called 500 Tuk Tuks. So we were an early stage VC fund that was primarily investing in Thai startups at the seed stage. So a lot of the startups in the country we were kind of either involved or have backed. So by the time I left the fund, we had around 70, 80 investments in Thailand, and according to certain reports, there are around 300 funded startups in Thailand back then. So we funded a large number of them, and then around 4 years ago, I moved on to join SeedStar. So we're a company out of Switzerland that is focused on the emerging markets. So today we run a global fund that is focused on the emerging markets. I manage Southeast Asia for the fund, and we have three other colleagues covering markets like LATAM, India, and Africa. And essentially, we invest in companies at the pre-seed and seed stage and then help them grow from there.
Very nice, very nice. I think we have a very interesting panel here, right? We have experts from the entrepreneurial field, Billy from the headhunting side, like looking at what talents look like in the Southeast Asia region, and then two, you have the expertise on like what kind of like startups are in the Southeast Asia region. So my question first for you guys are about so the topic today is like building the next generation of AI entrepreneurs. So specifically for like talent landscape, Billy, from your perspective at the startup breed, what do you see as the biggest gap in AI talent in Thailand or SEA right now? Are they lacking the technical skill or the business acumen? What is your view on this?
I don't know. I think both the technical skills as well as the business angle is there. But the issue that I see is that everybody has built MVPs. Everybody has built proof of concepts. But something that's actually production ready and that has been deployed in the real world is not really there yet. And when I'm speaking to my clients, they're asking, I want an AI engineer that has built scalable products, that has at least hit this many users, and these people simply do not exist in the market just yet. So there is a big gap that we have to overcome.
So from the MVP to the scalability, you think there's a big lack in the talents?
Yeah, and also just beyond the whole MVP, something that's actually production ready, that is taking actions, that is adding significant value. I haven't seen too much of that just yet. A lot of ideas, a lot of proofs of concepts, but no actual reality.
Interesting. What's your thought on that?
I mean, on the talent issue, I think Thailand has great talent. You have great companies with great teams here, right? But then if you talk to startups and a lot of companies, they're always going to complain that they can't find enough talent, right? So there's always going to be a shortage. My experience working with startups, I think the bigger challenge is actually how do you build a company that these talent would want to work with you, right? Actually convincing them and onboarding and ensuring that they want to work with you. I think the talent is out there, but sometimes it's not as easy to convince these guys to come and work at a new young company versus a nice, very high-paying job at the bigger companies.
Okay, so that actually leads naturally to my next question to you about like Thailand, the startup ecosystem here. What are the unique advantages or hurdles that you see here in Thailand, in Bangkok, for AI entrepreneurs launching their startups compared to like the other side of the world, right? What do you think?
So I think first of all, Thailand's a good base to build a company, right? I think manageable kind of costs. Ease of doing business is also kind of manageable. Not the best, but I mean, it still works. In terms of company building right now, I think the biggest challenge at the early stage is that there is not that much capital that is around that would be willing to risk with these new companies, right? So
what do you think is the problem here? Is it more like a cultural thing? Is it more like people are risk averse? More like, what do you think?
I think unfortunately the performance of the first few batches of startups since the ecosystem, let's say, started in and around 10, 12 years ago, we've had some nice success, but unfortunately not enough. So once you have the first group of investors investing in funds that are investing in these companies, and they're not able to get the returns that they want, then they're not redeploying into the ecosystem, right? And you have investors from the outside as well making a couple investments here, didn't turn out as well as expected, and then they eventually leave, right? So I think the biggest challenge for me is that even if you want to start something, if you don't have your own capital, if you can't convince friends and family, where do you get capital, right? So that would be, I would say, the biggest problem to fix for me. And I think there's organizations that are trying to do that with grants and stuff like that, but eventually you need a proper, healthy venture funding kind of ecosystem.
So for Seed Star, like what are your primary like targets investing? You said you invest in Thailand in SEA, but like out of like the whole portfolio that you manage, like what are the percentages of like companies in Thailand, companies in other regions? What are the percentage wise?
Yeah, definitely. So I think 40%, well, 40% LATAM, 40% Asia, which includes India as well. But I think for this context within Southeast Asia, I would say around half of our companies are regional companies, and most of these companies are coming out of Singapore. And then another good bucket are companies out of Indonesia and the Philippines.
Interesting. Okay. Billy, what do you think about the ecosystem here, building startups in Thailand? What are the hurdles, advantages from your experience working with the startups here?
Yeah, we actually believe that Thailand is perfectly positioned to capture a whole lot of the startup ecosystem in Southeast Asia. But for some reason, it hasn't really happened over the past 10 years. And there are a few hurdles. I guess one big one is, yes, there is government support. Yes, there is a formidable BOY program. Yes, there are grants from NIA and DIPA. But what I've seen with many of these startups is that it sometimes goes a little bit too slow. Startups don't have time to wait 6 to 12 months before approvals or before these grants get deployed.
What do you think is the reason behind the slow-paced startups?
Well, because it's just the government, right? It is a bit more bureaucratic. These things take time, so it is a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, if you look at Thailand from an infrastructure perspective, cost of living, talent availability, everything comes together in this beautiful country. So that's what we are building with Bangkok Startup Association to, number one, help the government to go a little bit faster, but also to bring the whole ecosystem together, because that is another hurdle. I don't know from your experience, but it seemed to be always a bit scattered all over the place.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like to your first question about the talent pool lacking either technical or business, I think the other challenge is bridging these kind of two sides together, right? Have, engineering students hang with the business students. I look back when I was in uni, like those groups were quite far apart, and even somebody who without the technical expertise wanted to start something, has everything else, it's very hard to network your way to find the proper tech talent that you want.
So you went to university here in Thailand, or?
Yes.
Here, okay. So people don't talk to each other. You think that's one of the problems?
You hang out in your faculty, and maybe the faculty next to you know a few friends, but then it's kind of...
Billy, can you tell us more about the BSA you mentioned, Bangkok Startup Association? I think it's a good place for people to mingle together.
Yeah, most definitely. Bangkok Startup Association is on a mission to unite and uplift the startup ecosystem in Thailand. So we do 30 events per year. We have already developed over 750 partnerships with OpenAI, AWS, Google, you name it, to give perks and discounts to these startups. And we have a membership program where we help them succeed. So startups come to us and be like, hey, these are the kind of investors I need to be connected to. These are the partners I'm looking for. And then we source from the community and make a whole lot of introductions to help take this ecosystem to the next level.
Okay, great. Anyone interested in BSA, feel free to look it up online and talk to Billy after the session. I have another question for you before we open up the mic to the audience and head for lunch. So what do you think is the one critical quality for the next generation of founders, especially here founders in Thailand, to succeed in this AI-driven market, AI-driven society now? I know this is a very broad question, but in your perspective, for both Billy, right, from the headhunting perspective, you work with so many startups, a lot of them must be like in the AI field. What do you see like they seek for qualities of people, right? What are the traits that they're looking for?
I don't think it's new in this AI era, but maybe it's going even faster, so it's even more true. And that is relentless adaptability. Being flexible, can adapt to new tools, new large language models that come out, adapt, learn from it, quickly implement it, and go faster than your competition is going.
Relentless. But that's kind of like
adaptability.
Adaptability.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, like I agree with Billy as well in terms of speed and adaptability. But when we're looking at AI investments today, and what we struggle with now is that because the space is moving so fast, it's hard to project out in the future what things would look like. And if you don't have a clear wedge or defensibility in the company, it's hard to see how you can sustain that in the long term, right? Especially if you're building more generalistic applications. You could wake up one day and then the big guys decide to come into your space and all of a sudden your startup's done, right? So
yeah, how do you deal with, or how do you see like the entrepreneurs deal with this scenario where, like you said, like the pace is way faster than before, right? So in a sense that right now it's also like a higher opportunity cost for any founders or any startups to commit to like a one single problem, right? Because if you work on this, you devote all your time and energy into this problem, but eventually, there are newcomers coming in to wipe you out, and then you end up like working on something that might be already outdated, like maybe just a year from what starting to do it. How do you see like people deal with this situation?
From my perspective, it's no issue to get married to the problem. I think it's very good to focus on that.
Okay.
I think the bigger issue is people that get married to a specific solution, even though the field has already far surpassed their solution, and they keep investing in it because they calculate sunk cost for future decision making, which is obviously a fallacy.
So married to the problem, but not to the solution.
Exactly.
Good. Same? Okay. All right. No worries. Any questions from the audience crowd? This is a very good opportunity to raise questions to the field experts, right? Billy from managing like the people side, right? How to recruit people, and two from like the investment side. What are the trends and the future for the startup ecosystem? Any questions?
Hello. I'm a professor at CMKL, so I want to ask a question about, how has the rise of generative AI affected the kind of talents you're looking for? Because now there is the dilemma between, hiring a more senior software engineer who can be, at least in principle, right, be more productive using these tools versus hiring like junior engineers. Are you looking for fewer talents with more productivity, or how has that affected your search for talents?
I think definitely there is lesser of a need for junior talent that would use to do lots of the execution that AI is currently doing. But from my agency perspective, we only do mid and senior level. And there, I definitely see that most of the clients require candidates to be very familiar with AI, using all these productivity tools to have 10x the performance as that they had pre-AI. So whenever I present a candidate and it doesn't have enough experience with this whole AI field, automatically rejected. They must be using it.
And from my perspective, with the companies I'm working with, versus say 5 years ago, they're definitely able to build much better product with a smaller team. So the emphasis on hiring now is, especially to senior people, like Billy said, with experience, and less so kind of junior and building out a big team.
So just to follow up on that a little bit, what does that mean for the ecosystem of software developers nowadays, right? Because junior developers, they need experience, they need the training to become senior. What does it mean for our students who's graduating this year, next year, in the next 5 years?
Well, the thing is, you can get experience two different ways. I've been walking around and I've seen all these formidable student projects. So it's not that they don't have experience, but they must have built some things. They must have created and things that actually deployed, and that they can use as experience, and then immediately also command a higher salary than people that don't have that experience at all. And then also get internships, build your side projects, do volunteering, make yourself stand out.
I think if you're a talented engineer, you're not going to struggle to find a job. I think the demand is always going to be there, and even I still think there's a shortage, and like if you're good, you're gonna land yourself a nice gig, no problem. I don't think it's that negative.
Thank you.
I give you a tour before like joining the crowd, right? Looking at all the projects that from the university. What do you think about them? Like because we as educators, we're trying to educate our students on coaching them on the next steps. What do you see after? What do you think after the tour? Like what are the piece of advice you want to give to us, to our educators, to our students?
It was very impressive. I feel like I should be learning from them rather than speaking here, but. I think it's very impressive, and I think if they can find time during the uni years to actually push and try, it's great, because then by the time they graduate, they should know if they like the entrepreneurial route or not, if the idea has leg to move forward or not, right? Like either way, finding that answer out, I think is very helpful and valuable for them, and just having this experience puts you way above others who don't already once you go out into the job market.
Yeah, I fully agree.
So just for the students back there, right? So just go do it and figure out what you want. All right. That concludes our session, and thanks everyone for your attention. I think it's lunchtime, so thank you again,
Awesome.
Billy.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
you.
for joining the crowd. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the session for building the next generation of AI entrepreneur. Thank you for the moderator, Tian Wei Jing from AI Innovation Program Manager, CMKL University. Also, Billy Vanderloo, Managing Partner and Chief Hunter, Startup Breed, and Pan Charuthasanakun, Principal, Southeast Asia, Seed Star. So now we will have lunch break, and we will come back at 1 p.m. And if you have time, please kindly visit the undergraduate projects and graduates projects. All of them are quite interesting, and maybe you will see them as a startup unicorn in the future. So please enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back at 1 p.m. Thank you.